Hi, I'm Bob Saget, and welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Hey, it's Bob Saget here, and I got a little story for you. Hope you're ready, sitting down. A family of four walked into a talent agency, and they said to the agent, you got to subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show. And that's the story of how I met your mother. Isn't that beautiful? I incorporated all of that, but mainly subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show because she's delightful and kind and very funny and smart.
Bob Saget, welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. It's an absolute honor to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good. I had a rat in the house. That's the big news. So right before I had an exterminator here because I don't do rats myself. Nice. And I just saw the new Suicide Squad movie. So if anyone's seen that, I won't give it away, but rats are a key plot point of a character. So it is, and he's a hero of mine. He was Luther in that wonderful show.
Sorry,
you like him, right? I like him.
Of course. I had a similar problem. I had a 90-foot starfish in my house, so I had to get the exterminator to get rid of it.
That is so weird. And the only way to stop them apparently is to hit them. I can't give it away, but they're also allergic to cats, so the eye starts to quiver.
Very true.
A giant cat could have saved that whole movie. The starfish could have been stopped, and the rats. Think about it.
I just worry about the fleas, though. Imagine the size of the fleas you'd get with a giant cat.
Fleas are big. God, I don't like giant insects. Small ones are annoying.
Yeah.
It's a rough life.
It really is. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning of your career. I believe your first gig came about because you won a radio contest.
Wow. You've done, I don't know what to do. You've done the work. And I am doing something. I'm never rude. And I'm not rude, but I had to turn on the air conditioning from my phone because there was rat smell. So I did that. And I would think you wouldn't want to edit that out. It's so real and lifelike. But I can't believe you did all that work and know that I was, what was I, 17, I think, 16, 17. I won a radio contest in Philadelphia.
And you performed the song Bondage, which is a bold choice for a first performance.
As 17-year-old, I wrote comedy songs because I was influenced by a lot of people that wrote comedy songs. Mm-hmm. I was hugely influenced by Monty Python and Eric Idle, who writes some of the best comedy songs, and I'm lucky enough to call him a friend. And he actually is. He's been to my home, so that's a big deal. And he took nothing. He didn't steal a thing because he's one of the best people I've ever met. The exterminator, I'm not sure about. But then Martin Mull was someone who very popular in America because he did a show called Fernwood Tonight, which was a takeoff before Larry Sanders, a takeoff. Norman Lear made it, a takeoff on talk shows. And it was with him and Fred Willard, and many, many people were on it. And it was a miracle. I'm actually directing a documentary about Martin right now. So I wrote comedy songs. As a teenager, I never thought I'd be in showbiz at all. And it's funny, Martin never thought so either in the work we've been doing. And I wrote stupid songs, and some of them are still cancelable today. And I was 17, so I went off of what Mel Brooks was doing, and Steve Martin, and Monty Python, of course. I was a huge influence of British comedy, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, and the Goons, and obviously Peter Sellers and all that stuff. But I don't know, I failed upward. And this song won me $500 about bondage. And it was, the song was bondage, it's good, clean fun. It's bondage for everyone. Masochists and sadists unite one and all. Bondage is the rage. Come on, let's have a ball. Ooh, 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 yeah. You're lucky I didn't sing it. And people loved it because they wouldn't love it now. Maybe they would. I mean, bondage, I don't think it's been canceled. I don't know.
It has.
No, because people are kinky and like to do Eyes Wide Shut type of stuff, or 50 Shades of Grey. That might be canceled now. I don't know what's going on. I just try not to hurt anybody now. And throughout my whole career, I apologized incessantly with everything I did. Even when I did bondage, I went, I'm sorry I'm singing this. When I was done, I said, I'm sorry I sang it. I shouldn't have written it. And then they gave me $500. And with all my comedy, if you watch even my nastiest stand-up specials, which was one that I did that was on HBO here called That Ain't Right. I dropped a lot of F-bombs. It was it'd be a bad drinking game, but I was performing in front of a NYU college audience, and I'm a chameleon, and that's where I was at. I was pretending I was some badass, excuse me, rapper of some kind, and that's where that was coming from. But I apologized on my press tour for it. I constantly apologized not because it would one day be fashionable in 2020 or necessary, but I'm much more, I'm a lot different than the kid that wrote Bondage.
And so
I hope you have more than a half hour, because that took me that long to answer one question.
Honestly, if you have more than do you have anything after the half hour? Because I
know I'm good. The exterminator came.
Amazing. Great.
I'll stay with you for 4 or 5 hours. We can go into tomorrow.
I'm looking
We'll
forward
need to sleep. If you need to take a sleeping break, I'll just sit here.
You know that I don't sleep. You messaged me at 4 a.m. last night, and I replied within about 3 minutes. So I'm pretty much always awake.
You're like me.
Yeah, I'm very much a night out. So you had that first gig on stage performing that song, and then I believe your next one was performing at college, and you got $50 for it, your first paid gig.
That was, I had been doing a lot happened in between Carnegie Hall and singing Bondage. I went to, you're referring to Carnegie Hall? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. And I was opening for a singer, Gino Vanelli. And I think that he was popular in England. I'm pretty sure. He sang, I Just Wanna Stop. And remember that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that was Gino.
Yeah.
Right. It was a big hit, I think. And obviously now that you know it, I believe it. And between then, 17 years old and 22, when I played Carnegie Hall, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. I won the student Oscar for a movie I made about my nephew who had his face reconstructed, which wasn't comedy, obviously a documentary. And then I did a lot of stuff. I did stand up for years in Philadelphia, and I'd take the train to New York and wait in line as you do for 12 hours, sign a sheet and try to get up and do time. Mostly musical parody and musical songs. And then eventually also did group comedy, did sketch comedy. Saturday Night Live had just started in the US. And so 1974, I think it started in 73, but 74 is when I started college. And I would do comedy. We were mirroring that, just trying to be that, and which is impossible, but I learned. And so I was doing stand-up, improv, and making films. And then I signed with a couple managers. It's unbelievable who I signed with. It is really weird. It was a long time ago. He was a rock promoter, and my manager, Brad Gray, who later became partners with Bernie Brillstein, one of the bigger talent managers in the world, passed on, of course. And so did my friend Brad Gray. And Bernie used to produce Hee Haw, but Jim Henson was his first client. And he handled John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and he was legendary. And my friend Brad Gray signed me, and he was working for Harvey Weinstein, who was a rock promoter. So this is when I was 21. I signed with Brad and Harvey when Brad was 20 and Harvey was, well, he's ageless. And then that's a joke. I hope people understand that I'm not speaking well of how it's gone for the man and some horrible things he's done. But at that time, he wasn't the same person. He was a 25, 26-year-old rock promoter trying to make it in the business. And I was with him for a couple of years, and then I went with Brad. But I played Carnegie Hall. I called my parents and said, they always say, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice is the big joke. What would be the equivalent? I mean, Royal Albert is gigantor. So this is a 3,500 seat prestigious venue in New York. What in London would be the equal?
The Royal Albert Hall.
That would be it then?
Yeah, I think so.
But that's a lot of people though. How many people is that?
I don't know. I've never counted them, to be honst. They normally turn the lights off pretty quick.
I'll hold. Could you go there and count them real quick?
Yeah, of course.
You're nice.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you were gonna go. You were gonna go do it. I was kidding.
I
I'm
wasn't gonna
sorry.
do it, of course.
Oh my God, that's so accommodating.
I get asked to do that all the time. I have my own pass now. You'd think I'd just write down the number, but I never think to. I don't know why that is.
It's like guessing the beans in a jar and winning a car or something.
Yeah.
Can I Google it just to find out?
I think you should.
I am curious because my friend Bill Burr did a special. How many people does Royal Albert Hall seat? And this is where the Beatles played, and it's 6,000 people. So there you go. So it's double what I did in the US. It's comparable to Madison Square Garden or Radio City Music Hall. It's 5,900, they say, Royal Albert. Radio City Music Hall is 6,000. That's where Dave Chappelle just opened his documentary, which is really strong. I recommend it to everybody. It's about the pandemic and comedy, and I'm in it for a moment, which of course is, I'm not that big a narcissist, but I'm proud to be in it. But Royal Albert, yeah, it'd be like doing Royal Albert.
Having had those experiences when you're just starting out in comedy, have you got any advice for anyone that's starting out in comedy now? And myself, I'm thinking of getting into it too. I've been writing some material, but as a master of comedy, I'd love to know any advice or anything that you keep in mind or has helped you through.
You're very nice. You're very funny. I caught up on the stuff you do. You have a real center about you, which means, you're anchored in what you do. And that comes with wisdom and maturity, and then having a good humor about things. And that wit of, that's something that I love, like the British Office, or the American Office. But I have an affinity more toward the British Office just because I'm a big Randy fan. And there's something about that kind of comedy which came into being a long time ago in England. And then we would get it here from our brilliant people like Bob Newhart, very dry response. And I just did an interview with him on my podcast, which is called Bob Saget's Here For You. I just thought I'd mention it because I know you were going to, but when I plug my own thing, it makes me sound more sweaty and desperate. But Bob Newhart.
Your podcast, by the way.
Oh my God.
So
Thank
good.
you. I love doing it. I love doing it. It's real special. Every time I have a guest, it's a different experience. And I feel like I'm doing what you do, which is just talk to people and have a conversation. And it's not like, oh, let's play a game now. And it's fine. People do that. I mean, they want to find, or let's have a subject. The subject is, what if you found your partner, or, what if your kid eats a snake? I don't know. That's not really a good subject, but
removing the what if your kid eats a snake question.
That's the soundbite, right?
Yeah, that's the main thing. That's half of my interviews, everything you just said.
Can you make a meme out of it so I can make some Bitcoin money? I want to turn it into a, NFT. Yeah, that's what I want.
That's what you want.
I want it so bad. Well, what I was going to say.
If I knew what any of those things were, I see them mentioned all the time. I've tried to read about them. I just don't know.
I know people that have them and do them and buy them and are playing with it and enjoying it, and good for them.
You seem happy with them.
They're happy, and if they go broke, it ain't good. If they're really wealthy and can throw the money around, that's good for them. I'm not doing something I can't, figure out. Exactly. I just can't. It's not my fault. The thing I was gonna say was, I have no idea what the question was.
Any tips? Have you got any tips? Anybody getting into comedy?
Yeah, try to remember the question all the time. Never, you try to keep your wits about you and remember things. I think I fell into it because my goal was to be funny, be as funny as I could be. Or now, as I'm older, I'm wanting to be poignant and funny. I'm wanting to be real, more real than I've ever been. I used to just do one-liners like Rodney Dangerfield, or Jimmy Carr is so good at jokes, so good, and they're all have a similar theme to what my comedy has in the past. And we took a liking to each other at the Montréal Just for Laughs festival, and we were trying to out offend each other, which is impossible. And we could have canceled each other at the moment, but he's a smooth one. He's not going to get in trouble. He'll know what to do. My advice would be, don't want to be a star. Don't live for stardom. If you want stardom, get a reality show and sell your life to people, and just be the funny one on a show with other people who've had a lot of plastic surgery, or they have one or two incredibly well surgical young people living in the home who are good looking, and then you can look like however you want as long as you've got those couple people, because the world now of television and film is also allowing people to look more like people. So we'll see how that goes. But I like it. I like real. But I would say if being a star is your only motivation, you're going to have a vapid life. And yeah, it's great to have money. It's great to have stuff. I put my kids through college, that's like great. And I'm able to live a good life. But I have to work. I have to make things. I was just on the phone just now talking about a play out of possibly doing out of a book I wrote. So with a very world-renowned Broadway producer. And
wow,
it's only like 10 people you can think of when you say that. World-renowned, who is that? P.T. Barnum? No, that would be Flo Ziegfeld if you go back. I just lost a bunch of people by saying those references. But I'm never stopping. I'm in the middle of, we're finishing getting funding to get this movie made. As a director, and as a TV series, one I'm developing, and another one is, we'll see what happens. Nothing's real. Everybody always tells you they're doing something, but it's not real until it's actually on the air or not in the theater, but streaming. And then the people in it are fighting over the fact that it's streaming and not in the theater. That's my goal right now. And I'm in the process of touring and doing a new special by hopefully the end of the year. It depends on what happens here in the States. I will do it here in the US. I can't even perform in Canada. I mean, you're not allowed to go there. So, and I don't think I could take a trip abroad and go back to the Leicester Square Theater. I don't think I'm allowed to do that. Or maybe I am. I don't know. But I'm going to wait until I get this special under my belt, which is the name of it. No, it's not. It's a good name for a special, Under My Belt. There actually is. If it was a comedian that was a fighter, then it would make so much sense.
It'd be amazing.
So I would say do comedy because you have no other choice. You literally have no other choice. And you can't, all the stuff you've been thinking, write it down and then do the route we do. Get up on stage and get your time. And there's people that I had a guy open for me 10 years ago at a place. It was a young guy. He was 20. It was in Vancouver Island. And he performed, and he was a different person. He was drinking, he was smoking a lot. He had the cigarettes rolled up in his sleeve like James Dean or Fonzie. And I kind of was like a dad to him and said, you got to stop this. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do. And then it's 10 years later, I just had him open for me on the road, and he was fantastic, and he's gotten great. And he's in the Just for Laughs Festival as one of the new faces. And it's just makes me happy. His name is Abby Roberge, and he's on his way. He's trying to write who he is, and he's doing it because he has no choice. And that's why you do it. And some people want to be actors, writers, directors. A lot of people want to do any of those, or one of them, or all of them. And stand-up is a great pathway. It's the purest form of the arts of comedy, for sure.
It really is. And I can't wait to get started with it when everything opens back up, and going to all those open mics and just trying the material out, and, just trying to make people smile.
I can't wait to see you do it. I mean, and because then I'll see it too, because you'll end up doing a special, and that'll take a little time. It's a lot of material. How much material would you say you have?
Probably written about 20 minutes, but I've tried none of it. So
that's
I'm
good.
do like 5 minutes at a time, and then I have 3 other sets I can just swap out and try.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it'll turn, if you do it every night. Chris Rock's always saying, are you going out every night? And yeah, yes, Dad. And I'm 65 now, so I know the same rules. I'm out every weekend, and I need to do 90-minute shows because I could go up here. I know you have a comedy store. We have a comedy store, and the comedy store here is the one that I started at, and I emceed for 8 years. and started before they paid anybody. And then there was a strike, and now then everybody was there, literally everyone, that are international stars. And my first night, David Letterman was hosting, and I met Robin Williams, Michael Keaton, Richard Pryor within the first 2 nights of being at the Comedy Store in LA. That's how hot the club was. Incredible. And it's getting there again. Although with COVID, we don't know what's going on. Do you guys know what's going on? Are they changing you guys around all the time?
Every single day there's new rules, and so I'm just staying at home and working and creating as best I can, and then hopefully I'm not one of the people sort of spreading it, so I can hopefully speed up so things open back up and I can go out and have fun and see other people's shows in person. I've been watching a lot of stuff on Zoom around the world, like the Laugh Factory has been doing streaming shows, which is amazing, so I've been able to watch comedians in loads of different countries.
That's what I love about the quarantine, not the quarantine, COVID, what I love about it, there's your sound bite, that's the one that you'll play, is that it does force a reset on people no matter what. And it also teaches you what you're made of, because some people just can't take it anymore. I've been on some flights where I've watched people melt down. We've been seeing it online, people going crazy, getting violent, and it's just what they're made of and what they can handle. And it's sad to see everyone so upset and frazzled over politics or being told what to do. And it ain't about that, that's good American English.
Right, for me. So the next thing I want to talk about is you spent 3 weeks filming Critical Condition with Richard Pryor, and even worked together at the Comedy Store as well. Can you tell me, what was he like to work with?
I had known Richard for years, way before the fire, because I'd been hosting at the Comedy Store, and he was always nice to me. Always. It was really weird. I was this green kid. I had maybe 20 minutes of material. I was hosting the Comedy Store all the time, and he just came over and told me, "You're funny." And I didn't turn into Joe Pesci. Funny like how? Do I make you laugh? I didn't do that Raging Bull discourse. And he was the god of the Comedy Store. He kind of made it what it was. Steve Martin entered the building, but he had already been doing arenas and stuff, and then decided to stop probably about right after the year I got there. I think he quit because I started. He just said, said, "I can't watch comedy decompose like this." But Richard was just always wonderful to me. He bumped me one night at the Comedy Store, and I was hosting, and I was supposed to do a spot. And the owner, Mitzi, said, I'm sure you maybe heard her voice by someone, course, right? You can't go on. Richard's coming on. You're bumped. There was, she gave you a good lesson in what showbiz, what to look forward to. And Richard, after his set, comes over to me. He knew he bumped me because he was thoughtful enough because comedians are like a family. And if Richard didn't like you, he just didn't talk to you. Like a lot of us, a lot of people. I don't mean to say us, like I'm in Richard's company because he's Mount Rushmore. But he said, he didn't say, "I'm sorry I bumped you" or anything. He said, "You want to come out and see my Testarossa?" And I actually put that in my book, Dirty Daddy. I thought he meant, like, I didn't know what I thought it was his balls. I didn't know what he meant. And he said, I thought he was doing a dick joke. I swear to God. And then he took me out and he showed me a car, like the DeLorean and Back to the Future. The doors went up. And he said, "You want to get in it?" I was so depressed. I went, "No, not really." And that's what he loved about me, was that my depression cut through my excitement of being friendly with him. Sorry, I'm pushing my ears in. And so he was, he says, "I don't know what it does. It says it goes from 0 to 100 in 4 seconds. I don't know nothing about that shit." And we hung out and talked. And then I got that movie on an open audition call. Casting director Marjorie Simpkin and director Michael Apted, brilliant director who did 7 Up, 14 Up, 21 Up, 28 Up. Every 7 years went back to the same people. He's from London, and I believe. And directed James Bond movie, Coal Miner's Daughter, and he hired me. He liked me. I just couldn't believe anybody did, because I have a self-loathing. As cocky as I look on stage, sometimes the self-loathing comes out. And that's what the sweet side comes from, is reflection and I guess neurosis, but I think more reflection. And Richard was like that. He had a lot of that, a lot of insecurities. And then the flip side, in amazing confidence and craziness. And being with him after the fire in High Point, North Carolina, was a real gift. It was a real gift. And we couldn't do there were a couple scenes we couldn't do. I couldn't look him in the face, and then he couldn't look me in the face because he thought I was funny, because I had an innocence in my face, like I didn't know what the hell was going on, because I didn't. I knew my line because I've been running it in my head every 2 seconds. But then a couple times, the first couple days of shooting, I would go, "Holy shit, you're acting with Richard Pryor." And then they tested the movie, and apparently they liked my character, Dr. Jaffe. So an old friend of mine, Chris Thompson, who's no longer with us, he ended up being a writer of 2 of the scenes that they added. They added 2 more scenes with me, with Richard, and they were very funny. They were about me doing exams on an elderly woman and checking another man's prostate, because Richard was a fake doctor. And so it was a wonderful experience. And I saw Richard pretty much, till a couple months before he passed. I saw him a few times. I went to his house and had a lovely time with him, watching a big widescreen rear projection TV. And he would tell me who he liked and didn't like. I don't like that guy. He's not good. Oh, she's good. I like her. And it was like just spot on instincts, just what we all know when we're able to understand what good is.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And then, of course, I have to speak about Full House. You played the legendary Danny Tanner. But it's interesting to note that the very first episode, the pilot episode, had somebody else playing the character. So can you tell me how you first got involved with that show?
Yes, I had been a warm-up comedian on a show, Warm Up the Audience, comedian on a show called Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari. And it was executive produced by Chris Thompson, who's the guy that wrote those 2 scenes in Critical Condition years later. And it also had a writer, producer, Jeff Franklin, working on it. And it also had Tom Miller and Bob Boyette working on it. And they produced Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, a lot of great American sitcoms. And they were lovely guys. And Tom's no longer with us, and Bob's a dear man. And Jeff's an old friend. So they wanted me originally to play Danny Tanner. And I went, "Jeff, but I'm a clean cut guy in this thing. Are you okay that I'm going to act? We know what my stand-up is." He says, "That's all the more reason. You're an actor." And I went, "Of course." And I was pretty serious in the prior movie, and I'd done other parts and things, and I was never funny. I was just playing a character because I like acting. So they offered it to me, but I was doing a show at CBS television in New York that I got fired from after 5 months. And they said I was too hot for morning TV. I was too high energy and PG, I guess. And then they fired me. And my manager, Brad Gray, said, "Hey, I got Jeff Franklin wanting you to do Full House again." But I said, "But they shot the pilot," because I knew Dave Coulier, my friend, comedian, actor, played Joey, and John Stamos, very good looking, even with a mullet, had already shot the pilot as well. It was ironic that I'd known Dave for 12 years before Full House even happened.
Yeah.
And so they hired another actor. And what I don't like about our world that we're in is that they were nasty and gross and tabloidy enough to go and put that actor's version of the pilot into a box DVD set. Like, you get 8 years with me as Danny Tanner. Oh, but here's the guy that didn't get the job. And I just find that classless and gross. And I've always felt bad for him and about it. And he's cool with it. I've never met him, but I've heard him talk about it. And my heart always goes to people that don't get jobs. And because I've had many that I don't get. And I know what it feels like. And Miller Boyette did it many times. Robin Williams wasn't Mork originally. It was an actor, comedian, John Biner, very funny man. And Perfect Strangers was not Mark Lynn Baker. It was Bronson Pinchot and someone else that I don't want to mention because they haven't done the same thing, nor should they. Take someone who gets fired from a job and then they release it. It's just gross. It was stupid. And so that always bothers me, but I loved that I did the part. And it didn't play in England for a long time. It was on Sky One for a while, and then they took it off.
I used to watch it when I was a kid. So
you're so sweet.
I think it was kind of on just when I would have been making my way home from school. So I used to set the VCR up to record, and I still have in a box somewhere tapes I recorded just full of Full House. I love the show.
That's interesting because it did touch people all over the world. It really did well because the three daughters were blonde. The Nordic countries did very well with it. Sweden and Switzerland thought my daughters were ABBA. And then they didn't look like me. And John Stamos's sister is who's the wife, and she's blonde in a flashback. But and John's not blonde. So it was an unusual thing in his family that his sister was blonde of a Greek family, although that's not true because John is Greek and one of his sisters is blonde in real life. So that's how we kind of bought it. Oh yeah, but his sister. And then Dave Coulier, Joey, the character, looked the most like the girl. So we assumed he was the dad. It just happened 3 times late, 3 nights. But it was a gift, it was a sitcom that traveled around the world. In France, they called it, I believe, pardon my French, but it's, and usually when I say pardon my French, it's something else. I just curse and then say pardon my French, but it was Fête à la Maison, party in the house, I think. Forgive me for that if I'm off, but it was all over the world. It was really, really popular. And in some countries, it wasn't. It wasn't so in England for many years. I think it's caught on just because of Fuller House has been on Netflix and the reboot. And, it serves its purpose. It's a family show that has like a Disney premise, which is mother's not alive. One of the parents is not alive. And how do you survive? It was really taking a ripoff of 3 Men and a Baby. That's what it was. It was supposed to be that. 3 guys and a little kid. And then they added the 2 other kids. And then at first the show didn't know what it was. It was going to be 3 guys dating girls. And that stopped after 3 episodes, thank God. And it became a family show of how do you become a family when you're missing people.
Yeah, it's an amazing show. And there's so many iconic moments, even just watching back, preparing for this interview always makes me smile. So looking back at the, I think, 8 seasons of the original run and 192 episodes, have you got a moment that sticks out to you as being a favorite memory or a favorite scene to film?
I think there were a couple moments as an actor in a sitcom that I enjoyed that were high style and expensive to do, where my daughter, Candace Cameron Bure, DJ, she was making out with her boyfriend Steve, played by Scott Weinger, the voice of Aladdin in the movie with Robin. There's a loss. And they accidentally hit the lever on the cement truck, and cement poured into the kitchen. And so we had to do a lot of fake kitchen double set building. I think we did 2 takes. I'm not sure, which means it took a whole day. It was like a Lucy bit. It was old style sitcom where something big and broad happened, and we're using a dustpan to clean up cement, just stupid stuff. But it was fun and funny, and we also knew we had to get it, And then there was another time where Jodie Sweetin played Stephanie. She drove a car through the kitchen, and I think we just did that once and had a few cameras rolling, but the essence of the show is what I remember the most, and the love that we had on the set for each other. And yeah, I did irreverent jokes sometimes, but not around the kids ever, except through osmosis. They got it. And they all have a sense of humor. And, it's the irreverence is something that we all had anyway. And Ashley and Mary Kate were 9 months old when they started the show. So they finished at 10 years old. And I stayed friends with them through literally my whole life. So their whole life. So I do benefits for the Scleroderma Research Foundation. And when we were able to do them before COVID in New York, they were constantly at every event, and we'd have singers perform, and they would always be there to support and they would give auction items like tours of the row, their fashion company. They're just amazing people, and all of them. I've seen everybody. We see everybody constantly. The Ashley, Mary, Kate, I see them when I'm in New York more than in LA.
It's great that you're all still so close to each other, and that really does shine through on the screen and obviously in the sequel series as well. So I love
that. That's the answer to the question. My favorite part was being with everybody.
Yeah.
Because there were times I was going nuts, and I would go, "What am I doing? I'm not saying anything. I'm not funny." And then Dave and John would just tell me, "Why don't you?" Dave used to say, "If you're very quiet, no matter where you are in the world, you can hear Bob complaining." Because actors complain if they're working or not working, but truly good ones realize that how fortunate they are to get to do it. And that's, I'm in a very appreciative place in my life, especially that whatever I choose to do, I follow through, and all my stand-up dates are selling out, and I'm just writing. And writing means, for me, writing is on stage. Like I wrote a new song, and that, I won't even tell you the name of it because it gives it away. It's just, why do that? It's like giving the end of, our favorite new movie with the giant starfish. Why did I forget the name? Suicide Club. Yeah. Squad was nothing until 5 years ago, and then Squad became. Have you seen their Squad? I love here's my squad. A squad used to be just a bunch of snipers that would join you in Kevlar to go shoot people that were robbing a bank or something.
Well, there was the Monster Squad in the 1980s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, good movie.
But what, really?
Yeah.
But squad became part of our lingo in the world, don't you think? Where it wasn't before?
Oh, no, I completely agree.
Kids today, they change words. I sound like, get off my lawn.
No, just finished learning Shakespeare, and now they've got all these new words.
Right? I mean, 400 years go by and everything's different.
We're aging so well, though. Look at us.
I've always wanted to be from England, always, because it's like, we're a new place, and we're not necessarily handling it right. And I know you guys have the same stuff. People are infighting, and people are anti-mask and anti-vax all over the world. And people are fighting in their rights and believe in their human rights. And I understand, but it's like, you're a little more along as far as people from all over the world being treated equally, even though my friends in England say, yeah, that's what you'd think, but you'd be surprised. But I do think there is something in being around longer and accepting people longer. Yeah. We're in a weird pickle right now.
I think that everyone can learn a lot from everyone else, and that's how you make things better.
I learned the most from people from Newfoundland.
Already?
Yeah, because they don't require much. They need a pelt and a big thermal jacket, and they would like no more Newfie jokes being told about them, which I agree with. And the real winner here are the Polish people, because when I was young, they had Polish jokes. I'm like, what? And if you even tried to tell one today, the great thing about it is people wouldn't say, don't do that because it's offensive to Polish people. They would say, don't do it because you're just not trending. You're just wrong. Nobody does them anymore. Instead of going, it's racist and horrific and profiling an entire, I'm part Polish, the part that can't remember anything. What? Oh God, why did I do that?
So is it true that you were once on the Johnny Carson show, Tonight with Johnny Carson, and you narrated your own wedding video? Did that lead to you hosting America's Funniest Home Videos?
Yeah, it did. You know more about me than I do. Johnny Carson, yeah, you're very nice. You're very nice. Johnny Carson was our Graham Norton. And you had other people. I mean, I hosted the video show here. You had Jeremy Beadle, who I heard was a very nice man.
Yeah.
And I always went, oh, I want to live in England because I do love it so. But Johnny Carson was amazing. He was one of the most amazing hosts that will ever be in television in the world, because he knew how to, if he didn't like someone, you couldn't tell. It wasn't like a complete turnoff, except a couple times when it was called for. But I was on his show like a dozen times, and he just liked me. I had been on this morning program on CBS, so it warranted me getting on there. And I narrated a 2-minute video I'd made of my wedding to my first wife, which we got married when I was 26. And so that was a long time ago. So I think the morning program on CBS started at around 87 or 88 or something like that, 1988. And in case somebody thought it meant something else. And I showed it, and it was funny. It would show a guy sleeping. And then I went, oh, this guy in the green jacket, he couldn't take it. He fell asleep. And then cut to him dancing, oh, he's up. He must have done something. And then I showed meaning drugs. And then I showed my nephew, who was 6. And I always did something irreverent. I said, there's my nephew. We couldn't find him. He was in the band with the drummer for an hour. I mean, you can't say that, but I did. And Johnny laughed his ass off, because it's like, oh, don't say that. You can't say that. But the point of it was, what people don't understand from my comedy anyway, is when I did inappropriate stuff or something, the worst thing you can do is anything that is in violation of a woman. And it would be a rape joke or a pedophilic joke. And we know people that talk about it that are major comedians, and they haven't been canceled because there's a point to what they're saying. I always assumed people knew that by the kind of joke I was telling, it was already built in that it's horrific and it's a terrible thing. And there was silliness that I added to it. And I think the silliness is what made it something that definitely I would not do today at all, and apologize for it when I did it. But of course they leave those parts out when you apologize. But yeah, I'm not thrilled with some of the ways it's being interpreted now. When I did it then, it was like, oh my God, that's so horrific. That's why he's saying it. But you can't explain yourself out of a paper bag. You're locked in, especially years later when something it's dated, it has no place, and it's offensive. So I've never wanted to hurt anybody, just the opposite, obviously.
Absolutely. And so in 1995, you were host of Saturday Night Live. Did you have fun doing that show? I love that there was a sketch where you were a sports coach and you're trying to get everybody to go faster, and nobody was understanding that at all. They just forgot and just went slower. And so I love the sketches in that show.
The show, and this year in particular has been a very good year, because we need comedy so badly that Saturday Night Live has been a really strong year because of how they persevered and what they gave to everybody, which was, and the cast is all, they're all starring in movies and television shows for a reason. They're special, they're funny. And they also went through the battle for all of us, with all of us, and we would sit home and watch it. I liken it to, is there a sketch show of that level in London?
There have been sketch shows, but nothing of that quality. I watch, well, it's only been available again for the last few seasons. So I've watched every episode for the last few, and then some have been available to buy. I've got all the classic stuff on DVD as well, and books and all that good stuff. But yeah, there's nothing that compares to it, I don't think.
It's Lorne Michaels. He knows how to do that show. What's equivalent for me is I watch a lot of Graham Norton, actually, and he makes it like it's supposed to be. It's a party. It's a cocktail party with your favorite stars, and it's silly, and there's no censorship. And that's what I wish we had here. So in that regard, our chat shows are I mean, I love almost everybody that does them. I know them through the years here, but he's really quite perfect at it, but it's according to Saturday Night Live, man. It's when I say man, I mean I'm talking beatnik talk. I'm talking hipster talk, right? Miss, when I talk about Ms. When I talk about Saturday Night Live, I loved that particular sketch a lot because it had pretty much everybody in it. Chris Farley, of course. And he was so earnest. He obviously was beloved internationally for a reason. I mean, he was unbelievably one of the funniest people that exists, and also had this vulnerability that was so adorable and this unabashedness. And but in that sketch, it was like, no, you've got to, I was trying to tell this, it was like idiot talk. It was a team that didn't understand they needed to go faster. So all I had to do was what they'd written for me. No, you need to go faster, slower. Don't go slower. And they were in Farley's like, I got it, coach. I got it faster. I think he got it wrong. He and I corrected him, which is the Farley way. But, I was on just one time hosting, which was one of the best things I've ever done. So much damn fun. And the cast was Adam Sandler, David Spade, Kevin Nealon, Molly Shannon. It was insane. The people that were on it, Chris Elliott, I think I said David Spade, Tim Meadows, Jay Moore, Michael McKean. It had like 18 people on it. It was crazy. And talk about fighting to get, airtime. But I most memorable and wonderful.
It's so much fun. If you haven't seen it, please do look it up. 1995 SNL, highly recommend.
1842, I wrote.
It was. It was at 6:42 p.m.
It's in my journal.
So in 2001, you starred in Raising Dads with Kat Dennings and Brie Larson, and both of them have now gone on to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
My question for you is this: if you had a superpower, what would it be?
To keep Raising Dad on the air. Superpower would be, I think, to nullify hatred in people. And I would spread myself thin. I'd be on tour to get people to just stop, not have the ability to hate. They can have anger and they can stop injustice or bad people, but not to hate. So I guess I would be the one in general, the power would be devised so that it would just stop people from blatantly hating people for their beliefs or the color of their skin or their religion. And if you're going to dislike someone, there's a comedian that I like very much named Mike James, and he's out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he has a great bit, and he's a black man who talks about prejudice in America, and he says, I just don't understand racism. Why can't you just hate people for the horribleness of their character? That's great to hate those people and wish harm on them, but not, I don't understand why the color of your skin can be something to hate. And people have said stuff like that. He just, I don't know, it affected me the way he said it, because that's kind of where I'm at. So it's where I've always been. It's where we're all supposed to be. Just hate people because they suck.
Right.
But
so don't hate me yet. You haven't even got to know me.
You're a kid. Isn't that nice when someone says that, and then you meet people younger than you that don't think you're a kid, but you are a kid. I'm 65. You're a kid. You were watching me as a kid.
I was. We get older, but it doesn't. Our personality doesn't age as such. It matures, perhaps.
I agree. Mine does not. Mine is 12, 16. Or my nose is itching, which means I'm going to come into money, I think.
That's good.
It's great.
It's because of this interview.
This is going to be an NFT that's going to go tubular. That's more than viral. Tubular is, from 20 years ago. That's how big this is going to be.
It's going to be so bodacious.
It's bodacious and all that. Yeah. So I think, I think a younger person is just not as programmed as much, I'm not an ageist, and I don't have disrespect for someone because there are people, some adults that I've known in my life go, oh, that's the children. Go sit with the children. It's like, oh, okay. Why don't you go sit in the old folks' quarters? You annoying person. Yeah, it's that they're profiling kids. I mean, it's like everybody does it, and they don't even realize they're doing it.
You can learn from everybody. Everybody's got perspective and something to say and an opinion. And it's important to listen to everybody, whether they're older or younger than you. You know that question that comes up, if you're at a dinner party, who would you want to surround yourself with? I'd want to surround myself with people more intelligent than me. And all I'd want to do is listen.
I couldn't agree more. I'm sorry I'm talking so much. I should be asking you questions.
That's what the show is.
Oh, yeah. I've learned that through my podcast. After 100 episodes, I realized, boy, when I listened to old ones, I just didn't listen as much. And that's how you learn.
I love chatting to the most creative, brilliant people on the planet and hearing their experiences and celebrating their stories, not just the latest movie, but how they got there, because people, whether they love the stuff they've worked on or if they're aspiring to do a similar thing, people can learn something. And that's why I love it.
Absolutely. And once in a while, that newest movie or newest television show is a life-changing project. And then you go, wow. And then I had Jason Sudeikis as a guest on my podcast, and we talked for a couple hours because Ted Lasso really hit me hard. That first season just really affected me because he's out there pontificating about things that matter. His sayings are so simple, but they're so right. And there's so much love in his messaging. And that's, I got that behind me. That belief was given to me by them. They send that to people from the Ted Lasso show, if you're a super fan. And I was promoting it on my, Instagram and Twitter. I haven't had any food today, and I had an exterminator to get a rat. So I'm a little thrown. Bet he took the rat. He was going to cook it. Yeah, that would have been great. But if they have rabies, I guess you can cook anything out.
Yeah, I think
no, you've seen those movies where they put a rat on a stick and then they get sick from it the next day.
In the movie Demolition Man, that's what their burgers were made of in the future.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I got to catch up on that. That's the first thing I'm doing when we're done.
Should. Cooking tips.
Yeah, I think that you what you said is completely right, and it's learning from everybody, and you can learn from people saying the wrong thing and making mistakes because it doesn't fit right, doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
they say one thing, but the way they put it out there is like, you don't feel that. You're not that good a person, I don't think, unless you're just having a really bad media day.
I completely agree with you. You did the narration for Ted Mosby in How I Met Your Mother. And what I wondered is, when they were filming that show, did you record your voiceover one episode at a time, or did you go in and do like 7 or 8 in bulk?
No way. I was spending 4 to 6 hours per episode. So that's 20 minutes to 21 minutes that I would be spending that much time on. I take my work real seriously, and I couldn't understand why Josh Radnor wasn't doing his own narration. And I've said this before in interviews where people say, and I agree, why couldn't they just have him do it a little more gravelly, pitch it down? And I said, and the exec producer was a friend of mine, Pam Fryman, along with Carter and Craig, who are brilliant and about to do How I Met Your Father. And I believe it was Carter Bays that said, one of the exec producers said, I hope they're not too thrown off when Bob Saget does Hilary Duff's elderly voice. I think that is Hilary Duff's voice that'll be doing it. I'm not sure, but my joke didn't work. He wrote it much better because he's a great writer. But yeah, I would get into the head of Ted and try to figure out what's he feeling. And then it had to be right. It had to fit the picture. So do it like you do looping on a movie. You put the headphones in and 3 beeps, and you got to time it right, and you got to be done before the cut, but it also needs to have the feeling in it. So yeah, I would do something 30 times till I got it right. And whoever wrote that episode was the one that was in the control room, in addition to one of the exec producers, and just lovely people. What you saw on the screen resonated from the exec producers and all the producer writers on that show. I was very lucky to be a small part of that show, because if you're watching it in another country, everybody's dubbed. So I'm not old Ted, and Josh is not doing young Ted, but we're friends, and we've shared a lot of stuff about our careers and things that there's a similarity, believe it or not, to being Danny Tanner and being young Ted Mosby, in that you're the center of the show, and yet you're going, well, wait a minute, but they're getting the jokes. No, but you're the protagonist, so it's good. You're the glue. And it's not always the easiest part, but neither is working in a hospital.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I can't believe I had to do that part. It's really, are you out trying to put the gas line back together again in the middle of the street?
I love it when a successful movie will decide to mix things up for the sequel. So for example, the original Terminator was a horror movie, and then the sequel, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, was more of an action film.
Right.
So there was, of course, a classic 70s Disney film, The Aristocrats, and you were in the sequel, The Aristocrats, which is wildly different.
Yes, you don't want to mix those DVDs up in the cases, because the kids won't appreciate. And The Aristocrats was an old joke that had been told for a very long time that was not a good joke. In England, I think Billy Connolly pointed out, I believe, that it was called The Sophisticates. Or it might have been Edie Izzard, and that who also said that, and that instead of the punchline, after raunchy, horrible, terrible, ungodly things that would never be in a movie today, everybody tells the version of their joke, and mine was apparently one of the sickest ones. And it's a horrific thing. And it ends with, what do you call yourselves? Because this family's desperate to get in show business. And they go like this. They do this, the Aristocrats. And I never got to that part because I was on stage at the Laugh Factory in 1 minute. So I never did the punchline. I'm the only one that didn't do the punchline, except for people that are smart, like Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, or in the movie, Don Rickles, who said, I'm not doing that. I told it because I knew Paul Provenza for a long time and Penn Jillette for a long time, of Penn and Teller, who directed it. It took them 4 years, over 100 comedians. They whittled it down to 100 comedians. And it was incredibly, it was done as a thing about freedom of speech. But of course, it turned into something that is not acceptable today. And it shouldn't be, because the world changed, as it should, as we grow as humanity. And comedically, it still can be funny for some people. But young people will take it out of context and show my scene out of context. And I've always told everybody, please don't watch my scene out of context. It's part of the movie. But they do it because they hear, oh, Bob's really funny and dirty. We'll watch that. And that's what you can go, cancel him because he did this. It's like, you know what? Just go to hell. It's just enough. I did it years ago. I didn't even sign the release because I go, why did I do this? But I did it. I told the joke I take an assignment seriously, and the assignment was to be horrific about something that's horrific. And that if you can't understand that I'm not gleeful about what the story's about, I'm gleeful in that these guys in a schoolyard want to hear something that I would tell behind the trash bin. George Carlin said in the beginning of the movie, don't tell this anywhere. This is behind a trash bin. And he said that as he went through the movie, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I should have listened to George because, it's not something that works now, and definitely not out of context by horrific people on YouTube or Gen Zers that don't get it and follow a herd and watch clips out of context. It's just, it's not right. But it also is something. Now I won't be doing something like that again, but who knows? I could do something so incredibly blueberry clean or strawberry bright that people will cancel me for that. in 10 years because God, he was so fake nice, or I hate how nice he is. That's what Danny Tanner was. And I think people also, young people don't realize that's acting. That's a character. I think they don't know that. They can't tell that I was acting, which is a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think so, but 8 years of Full House doesn't exactly convince everyone. But I was proud of the work I did on the show.
So speaking of wildly different characters, you played a character called Bob Saget in 4 episodes of Entourage and the movie. Can you tell me, did they make you audition for that role?
Oh, no, that's a phone call. We need somebody to play Bob Saget. That Doug Ellen I'd known for a long time. He created the show and wrote the head writer. And he used to watch me do stand-up and knew that I had a wicked sense of humor. Very similar to Jimmy Carr. One-liners. Oh my God, you said that? Oh my God, please don't say that. Oh my God, you said that. And then weaving out of it. That's the cleverness. I think Jimmy's cleverer than I am to weave out of it. But that's the kind of stuff I did. Rodney Dangerfield was a big mentor. So that was my comedy. So Doug Ellen knew it and then asked me to play in it, and then said, why don't we write your character where you're divorced and your wife got all your money? And I said, no, that's not me. And we're not doing that. We'll make it so that I got more money than anything, and I don't mind giving it to my ex-wife. And that's what he wrote. He wrote, okay, I'm going to make you more badass than anybody. You're going to have the biggest balls in the world. And that's what we did. And I did it in 4 episodes, and it was really fun. And when I would show up, everybody, Bob's coming. It's like the family dog, you know? And it was a good experience all around, except I'm not playing myself. Right. I'm playing a heightened version, which we see everybody do now. That's become the thing. So it was, for the past few years, but it was a fun experience. And the show also is, they want to bring it back, but it needs to go through some adjustments, because it was about guys living for how we started this conversation, be stars, the Hollywood dream. And I think Adrian Grenier, who I adore, I love the whole cast. I love all the guys, Kevin and most of the guys, but I would say that Adrian is one of the sweetest people that's an actor that I've ever met. I mean, he wants to save the blue whale. He's out saving nature. He's a tree hugger. He's a really good person. He's a sweetheart.
And so in 2008, you were starring in Comedy Central's Roast of Bob Saget, and Norm Macdonald and Gilbert Gottfried were phenomenally funny. But can you tell me this? Is there anyone else that you'd love to roast?
I don't love roasting. I've never liked people making fun of people and ripping them apart. It's a skill, and the late Greg Giraldo opened up my roast, and he was quite exquisite in how he tortured me. Do you have Vlasic pickles in England?
You have pickles. I don't know what Vlasic.
No, well, you invented pickles. I mean, and you invented people getting pickled. You did. But here we have a brand. we have a brand where there's a stork on it with little beady eyes and glasses. And Greg Giraldo opened up by saying Bob looks like the Vlasic pickle stork with those granny glasses and that little beaky nose or something. And I was scared to death, and I was having a terrible time because he was so good and just ripped me apart. And I agreed with everything he said. And the producer had to announce over the loudspeaker, hey, tell Bob to look like he's having more fun. So it was a 4-hour thing to record. Wow. And it had wonderful comedians on it. My friends, all my friends. John Stamos was the roast master. And then Gilbert went and said something terrible that traveled on the internet, and Gen Z believes it because they really got to get some wits about them instead of being heard, H-E-R-D, a herd. But yeah, in fact, it's right behind me here on the wall. There it is up there. That's the poster to it. That thing over there. I'm doing Austin Powers with my finger. That's what I was doing. Austin Powers shot. But yeah, it was a significantly fun thing to do. And out of context, the stuff's terrible. But it's all my friends. And that's how it was meant to be. And people that make a joke doesn't mean that that's the truth. That's what people need to somehow learn, but we're in a literal time. I didn't mean to go negative on it. I'm just saying it's so funny. Things that people think are many people think that's the funniest roast they ever saw.
Wow.
I did get to roast some people that I love, not on camera. There's a big thing called the Friars Club.
Mm-hmm.
Been around forever. And they had big roasts. So they had 2,000 people at the Hilton in New York. And I did a wonderful roast for charities of Jack Black. And so we had a lot of people on it. And I was the roast master. And I loved it. And I loved Jack. And so that was quite fun. I really didn't make fun of him too much. I couldn't. I love him so much. So apparently in my roast, they didn't love me as much. But I don't think they should be televised. But people like it. And, and they like to see people attack each other. We're kind of in a wrestling mindset, big wrestling match, WWF and all that stuff. But I'm, and I've roasted other people privately, with some well-known people, comedians and actors, but they've been for charities. They've been not televised. Sure. But that was a significant thing because at the time it was the highest rated roast they'd ever done. It beat the Olympics that year. It was a big deal. But and it's aged well for some people and badly for others, because anything bad they said about me wasn't true. But that's not what some people just don't understand anything.
No, it must be horrible going through life like that you just miss the point of every film and documentary. And
I always think, how could they think that of me? But then the real answer is what you just said. It's horrible to go through life not knowing what the purpose of that film or play or book was. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's just this, and it's not the point of it. It just, I guess it's an IQ thing. I think. Or just, I don't know, maybe you can have a high IQ, but just not get stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I don't have a high IQ, so I just assume sometimes I don't get stuff.
Nobody gets everything, right?
I don't know. I don't have a high IQ. I don't know. Ask me anything. It's going to be the same answer.
I will ask you anything. So, although actually I'm not going to ask you anything at this point, I'm going to say congratulations. Your 2013 stand-up comedy special, that's what I'm talking about, was nominated for a Grammy. That's amazing. I've watched the show. It's really, really super funny. And so, yeah, just congratulations for that. Thank you.
It was really fun to be nominated for a Grammy. Kathy Griffin won it that year. It's a comedy album category, but all my specials have like 20 minutes of music, 25 minutes or whatever it is, 15 minutes. And that had music in it. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a neat thing that there's music on it and they're considering it a comedy album. But that's true right now of Bo Burnham's Netflix special, which he did, during quarantine, going berserk, writing a bunch of music. And that's a comedy album. And I think it stands a good chance of winning a Grammy. But there's some really good ones right now. Yeah. But I'm excited that what was wonderful about it, I'm excited I'm going to do a new special is what I was going to say. What was wonderful about going to the Grammys is I took my daughter, my middle daughter, and at the time my mom was passing away. And so here we are going from hospice to having to buy my daughter a dress and me a tux, and we're doing this stuff that it doesn't make any sense. It's like opposite day moments. And went to the Grammys and got to see everybody perform. It was just insane. It was Taylor Swift and Beyonce and Lady Gaga. It was just I was in heaven. And my daughter's wonderful and was comforting and all that. So it was good all around. It was a great experience.
I loved your book, Dirty Daddy. I actually got the audiobook version of it because I love hearing people express their stories as well. And yours was heartfelt and emotional at times, also so laugh out loud funny. Every chapter, there was multiple times I was laughing out loud when I was listening to it. And it's highly recommended.
That's so kind of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have you considered writing a follow-up perhaps, or about something else?
I do. I'm a little busy because I just wrote a movie. So I'm like in rewrites of that. And I might I'm considering now doing Dirty Daddy as a play, which will be it will change the book. And the point of it is, in this cancel culture, why is it called that? And, you know, if you don't want to come see Dirty Daddy, it's in the title, you don't go to it. And it's a play. So as a play, you're not recording it. No one's seeing it. No one's tweeting about it, except I saw this, or I loved it, or I hated it. But the point is, I want to do something that there's a reason I'm a comedian, and there's a reason my comedy style was always warped, as people perceived it, or irreverent, or whatever you want to call it. And the reason is we had so much death and so many horrific things happened to my parents. They lost 4 children. So, I mean, to go through stuff like that will either cause you to be, I don't know, a person in denial, runs a corporation, or I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't have the grades because, as I said, my IQ is low. Or you want to diffuse it by doing opposite day, either making fun of it or making fun of the worst thing possible. It's be like making jokes in a foxhole during the war. That's not the time to make them, but there are a few of us that do that, and they're not doing it to be cruel. They're doing it to survive. So, and help others survive. So I think that's where I'm at right now. But that's sweet of you. I know there's more books in me. I think I'm going to wait till I'm more decrepit and only my fingers work.
That'll be hundreds of years from now then.
You're so nice that I am going to live hundreds of years.
Well, I insist on it.
It's done. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to live hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I'm positive now. I need to. I have 3 daughters. I have a wonderful wife and a lot of people and a lot of things I take care of. And I got to entertain a lot of people in as many mediums as possible.
And you do. And I love all the stuff that you work on. And speaking of which, we spoke about Full House already, but in 2016, you returned as Danny Tanner in Fuller House for Netflix, which ran for 4 seasons. Were you excited to get back working with the cast, or were you reluctant to go back to that show that you'd been on so many years before?
Well, we talked about it. It actually went 6 seasons. It went 5 seasons, but they did 2 seasons, 2 9-part episodes, 18 episodes. So it was 6 seasons, which is a lot for Netflix. Some shows just get 1. And I was thrilled. Also, I said to the producers, I'm a little different. I'm not the same Danny Tanner. I'll be the pure lover of kids. And that didn't sound good. There's your soundbite. I'll be the pure lover of my family. I can't say lover. Sounds like Will Ferrell in a jacuzzi. I will be the person that loves the whole family. I invented hugging on the show and cleaning. They made him a little bit like that, but I wanted it to be more like Felix Unger, The Odd Couple. And I was really happy to go back and do the character, be on the set and be with all the 3 empowered young women grown up, Candace and Jodie and Andrea. And then people were mad because fans, what a fan says is the law. And I appreciate the fans, and I know all the girls do, and John and Dave, of course. We wouldn't be where we're at without whatever that show did at its time. But I also, Ashley and Mary Kate didn't want to do it. And people were going, why not? Well, this is terrible. Something must have happened. And it's like, no. After they stopped doing videos when they were about 16 or 17, they stopped acting. Mary Kate did 1 movie, I believe, with Ben Kingsley. And then they decided they wanted to do their fashion business, and they're amazing businesswomen. And I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know why people think the ultimate is acting. Well, for some human beings, it's not. They've done it already. And also they did it without choice. They did it at 9 months old. They were in something, and it's complicated, and they've worked through it. And the best times they had were with me and John and Dave and the girls. And as far as that being a child star goes, and they were incredibly popular. I mean, they were the ratings getter. Kids called it the Michelle Show. But I just love them a lot. And anybody that says, why didn't they do this? They didn't do me a favor. It's like they don't owe anybody anything except themselves.
Of course. And if the show were to miraculously return a third time for Fullest House in a decade's time, would you be
Right.
happy to go back again?
I think I would be in a chamber, an air-locked chamber, and they would open it up. I'd say a joke and they'd close it. I thought they should do like a PG movie, that they should do, something that is acceptable by the same audience. It's not too, it's not vulgar, but it's just takes it a little more real rather than more of that kind of thing, less of the sitcom type of two-dimensional characterizations. But I don't know if it's something that I don't think it would ever happen. That would be my vision of it. I wanted to do it one time. I wanted to do an R-rated movie where Danny comes home drunk and everybody's trying to hide him from the girls and, just do the whole thing. And then they did the Brady movie without the original cast, the Brady Bunch movie. And, one day, I guess they could put wigs on people and do retro, or they could just do it updated. I do think there are going to be other incarnations of this. And, it's a very amazing brand.
It really is. And I'm sure it is one that will be revisited and revitalized and rebooted decades into the future, because it's an all-time classic TV show.
I hope so, because it will make the kids that are watching it now share that with their kids, which is what's happening. There's 3-4-year-olds that come up to me in an airport and go, "Oh, you're Danny Tanner." And I go, "Thank God you see me the same. I'm 35 years older. That's so nice. Thank you. You're a wonderful 4-year-old." And then the father starts telling me how much he liked me and the Aristocrats. And I said, "Your kid's here. Would you please parent?" I actually have to do that sometimes.
Love that. You have directed tons of movies too. Full Hope, Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald, Fast for the Penguins, Benjamin. Is that something you'd like to see more of?
Well, we're right now trying, you probably Googled, to get the sequel to Dirty Work made. And we've got some commitments from some great people, and it's a great script, and we're just waiting actually to get some ink signed. So you'll be the third person I'll call when you'll read it if it happens, because I'm always very wary until something's literally shot and done. And the plug hasn't been pulled, and we don't know how long it would take to shoot it during this COVID environment. But you read about it in Deadline Hollywood or wherever you read this stuff. So that's what we're working toward. A wonderful producer that I've worked with before. Did Farce of the Penguins with him, David Permit, wonderful guy. And Norm is one of the funniest people on the earth. So he's a very unusual man.
He's amazing. And as I say on your roast, he was so hilarious.
He did a great Netflix. He did a Netflix special that is fantastic. If anybody hasn't seen it, it is brilliant. It is just brilliant. And it doesn't ruffle feathers or anything, because chickens don't watch television.
It's very true.
Right?
To the best of my knowledge.
Never know if someone's got a pet chicken watching TV with them.
It's probably happened a few times.
I think it definitely, most likely. I have a friend that says it. I think he's right. Anything you can picture that someone has done, they have done it, no matter how weird it could possibly be. So someone maybe at this very moment is listening to this with their arm around their pet chicken.
Undoubtedly.
I'm very big in the chicken demo.
I'm very big into chicken, but normally just eating them. But yeah, I mean, if I've got a lot of viewers, and obviously I'll stop eating them.
It's whatever the viewers tell you. You got to follow your audience. See how you test with people with chickens.
Oh, we're going to find out soon, I think.
It's going to happen.
I think so. So I was delighted to see you recently, or rather not see you on The Masked Singer as a squiggly monster. But I was wondering, do they let you keep that costume after you're done with the show?
No, and I didn't ask for it.
Oh.
I didn't know I was going to do the show. I've been friends with Ken Jeong for years. I love him so much. And Robin Thicke I knew for years because his father, Alan Thicke, was a dear friend. So I knew Robin when he was 8.
Oh, wow.
And I knew Jenny McCarthy and Nicole through showbiz and just life. And so when Craig Plessis, the exec producer, called me and said, "Would you please come on?" They'd asked me 4 years in a row or how many years it's been on. I said no. And then I'd been in quarantine for 9 months. And he called me and I said, pick me up, just pick me up, put me in a mascot outfit. I can't take it. So I did it. And I did John Fogerty's Have You Ever Seen the Rain? And then I did Have You Ever Seen the Rain? My dad used to put emphasis on the wrong words also. Have you ever seen the rain? You know, he would go, you were good on Full House today. I went, no, it's Full House. He couldn't say it that way. But then second song was Satisfaction. And that went really well. And it's really hard. It's a 35-pound head on your shoulders. Ironically, it was made by a company that works for my friend Seth Green. So he said, we made your costume. And I said, I wanted the eyeballs to roll on it. Then I could make them roll. And because I really got into it. But it was during serious COVID safety, and I'm sure they're still following it. And I had a sweatshirt on that said, don't talk to me. I had a mask, a visor, a hoodie, and I never saw anybody. That's it. Never saw anyone. So that was the sad part, is that I saw a choreographer and a voice lesson person, because they have to teach you to sing through the thing because it's 30 pounds on your head. So I would have liked, I didn't realize it was a competition. I just went there. And then I went, oh no, it's a lineup. Looks like the Star Wars bar. It wasn't good. But I had a good time though.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing safer than a 35-pound head over your existing head to keep you COVID safe.
As long as someone COVID not safe has been inside of it. That's maybe someone put it on at night when I didn't know.
It's a massive problem. I always check before I step into a massive monster suit if anyone else has been inside it first.
Yeah, I sprayed it. I did actually spray it one day myself. I did, because we were getting kind of paranoid because there was a case and then they almost shut down. Then they didn't. Yeah. They're really safe. They were really good.
Going back to when you were a teenager, you befriended Larry from the Three Stooges, and obviously you've gone on to work with so many incredible people. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I guess it was Rodney Dangerfield, and I put it in my book, Dirty Daddy. He just said, like a tank, man. You just go like a tank. And he goes, it doesn't matter. People are going to try to stop you. People are competitive. People don't like you. You just go like a tank, always like a tank. And that was his thing. You just keep going. You just don't stop. At a certain point, I've seen a lot of people that are older and talk about showbiz, and they go, well, how come you're so popular now? And do you wish that it happened earlier? And they go, well, you can't change time or where I was at. And usually some answer like that. And they always say that if you stick around long enough. So I was talking to Bill Burr, and we were smoking cigars at my house because I love to name drop, but he was here. And I said, I'm going to be 65, Bill. This was, months ago. And I said, I haven't even done what I came here to do yet. There's so much I want to do. And he said, well, you better fucking hurry up. That's what he said, which means, pardon my F-bomb. I hope that's okay.
Fine.
Do you have F-bombs on here?
Yeah. So funny, like some of my episodes, there's no swearing, and others there's a lot. I think if you're going to drop an F-bomb, it's better to drop it than to hold it in,
I couldn't hold it in. And it's Bill Burr. So, I mean, that's how he talks. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. You've just started a massive US tour, and you're planning on going to Canada as well. And I know you've been doing lots of dates and been super busy. So I really appreciate you coming on my show today. For anyone that doesn't have tickets yet because they're selling out fast, can you give us a bit of a preview of what the show's about, what they can expect from it?
Well, it ends with a song I'm doing called I Don't Do Negative, which is a double negative, but I just can't let it in anymore. And I do sometimes. We all do, because it's our world. But and people are responding to it because they don't want to do negative either. They don't want to hear negative. They don't want to feel negative. Yeah. It's toxic. It's toxic to be full of hate. And it's not wrong to want to fight injustice. It's not wrong to want to have your voices heard. That's life. That's how things get changed. But when it's all based on hate, you can get swept up in it, and it's just so unhealthy for you, and you can die from it. And I'm not going to. So that's kind of what my new hour and a half or whatever it is about. and new songs, but mostly it's new stand-up from a different perspective, and kind of what we've been going through. It's not your typical, oh, let me hear your new COVID 10 minutes. It's not that. It's more about what people are like. It's not about disease. It's about dis-ease. It's about what's happened to people and where we're at. So I've never really done that as much. It's much more conversational. And I think it was when I went to Yellow Springs, Ohio, as you probably know, with Dave Chappelle invited me, and we had to shut down after one night in September because someone had COVID. And then he brought me back right when we started up again. And I did 4 nights with John Mayer and Jeff Ross and Dave and Donnell Rawlings. And it was just incredible fun to be of people that are like-minded, which is we want to make people laugh. People need to laugh. We need to do that. And there's an exchange that happens with that. This whole thing has changed all of us, and whatever the anger that comes with it, my job is to try to diffuse it and bring people together. And that's what I'm working on. And that's what this tour is. And I'm doing a lot of clubs, some theaters, the ones that I love, I'm going back to, ones that mean something to me. And I opened Atlantic City, the Hard Rock. It's like 7,000 people, but we only had a tenth of that. But I think it was more because Atlantic City's like, hey, the CDC's not here, nobody's going to know. They're like, they don't care. But it was a wonderful experience to be able to open places again. And I was as safe as I can be. I'm vaccinated. I wear a mask everywhere until I hit the stage. And then I let them exhale laughter into my mouth.
That's amazing. And hopefully things open up again soon once this pandemic is over. And I'd love to see you on tour, be it in America.
I would love it. I'd love to be in England so bad. And I would love to tour all of Europe. I'd love to do that. And I think it'll come sequentially with me shooting a new special that people get to see. And then me working, because I'm coming up with new stuff with more, I was going to say velocity, but that sounds like I'm a jet propulsion engine. I'm exponentially creating more stuff to talk about that means something to me. So we'll see what happens. But I would love to tour everywhere and then stop to go direct and do what I have to do.
Oh, that's amazing. And so here's a question that I ask every guest on the Sarah O'Connell show. Can you tell me a fun fact about you? Something we may not know, a hobby, a party trick, something like that.
Well, I have a birthmark that I'm pretty proud of.
Where is that?
It's my party trick. It's on my ankle, literally at my Achilles heel. So to me, I mean, that's really weird. It's like having a barcode on you. It's perfectly shaped. It looks like Czechoslovakia, I believe. And it's just gorgeous. And it's small, but it's right. I always think about, what's the weakness? The Achilles heel is like the secret weakness. And mine is right there on display telling me your weakness is in the most obvious place philosophically that it could be. So just keep aware of your weaknesses and then work on your strengths. So what I'm trying to do is build callus around my birthmark. It's very hard to work out your ankle. It's incredibly difficult to build meat around it. I don't know what to do. I might just pour wax on it and keep it sealed for 50 years, but then it won't be clean. There must be a doctor that can, I don't think you want to remove your birthmark.
I don't think so.
You have a birthmark, I assume.
I had a freckle on my hand and it's got fainter and fainter. Like when I was a kid, it was a really prominent birthmark and now I can't see it so much. So I don't
That's
know
good.
Yeah.
That's a real bonus. Mine got more dense.
Already.
It's not raised. It's not topography. It's not a relief map, but it definitely has a Czechoslovakian stamp. And it lets you know that I have a weakness. It's right there. You can see it. It's my kryptonite.
Well, it's good to know that you have that. So if there's ever an imposter Bob Saget, I know which one's the real one.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to announce it on your podcast.
That makes sense. But only chickens watch this, so it's fine.
This show is not for chickens. You need a disclaimer at the front.
Yeah, you have to be pretty brave to watch this.
I think so.
You never know what's going to happen. You're a board member for the Scleroderma Research Foundation. For anyone that would love to support that charity, can you tell us how we can get involved?
Yes. It's a disease. Scleroderma is hardening of the skin. It's Latin, of course. And the Scleroderma Research Foundation, there are other foundations in the world, but we are the one that has raised the most money, over $50 million, that goes directly to scleroderma research at the finest centers in the United States. And we are reachable at sclerodermaresearch.org or srfcure.org, srfcure.org. And it's also available through my website, bobsaget.com. And it's a really amazing organization. And the first person to ever do a benefit for us was Robin Williams. And our founder, Sharon Monsky, was a dear friend of mine. She had scleroderma. And I did the benefit for her because she asked me. And I knew that Robin had done it. And then I started hosting it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my sister came down with the disease. They didn't know what it was. It's very hard to diagnose. Some doctors are real quacks and were horrible. She was treated very poorly by some doctors. And then they figured out, but it was too late for her. And then one year she was at the benefit, and then another year she wasn't. And I've dedicated the rest of my life to curing it. And we've helped a lot of people. There's some new medications that we've helped fund the research for. And we are doing a benefit October 17th virtually. So all over the world, people in Europe can all watch it. And they just have to go to srfcure.org. And I believe the second panel tells you how to donate or how to register to watch the broadcast. And it'll be live. And last year we had John Mayer sang a song, and Kelly Clarkson and Train sang, and then comedians. It was a lot of people. It was a lot of my dear friends, Jack Black and George Lopez and Howie Mandel, and John Stamos was hilarious, and Jason Alexander and Nikki Glazer and Sarah Silverman. A lot of people did stuff. Joel McHale, and we're going to have a different kind of setup this year. Hopefully we'll bring some people into the studio, but it's only an hour. It's really an hour and a half with a pre-show, and people can get involved. And it's all trying to help people that have this disease that my sister had and didn't get to survive. So I'll be doing it. It's one of the things I'll be doing forever.
I was so sorry to hear about your sisters, and
Thanks.
If anyone can support this really important cause, please do, and tune in to the special. Sign up to learn more and spread the word and raise visibility and support it however you can.
Thanks, Sarah.
So can you tell me anything else you might be working on? Obviously, you have this huge tour. You've got Bob Saget's Here For You, the amazing podcast, which you've been doing since early last year, I believe. I've still got a ton of episodes to catch up on. Is there anything else you've got in the pipeline at the moment?
Well, it's directing of the movie that we're working on setting up, which is constant because it takes a lot. It takes a village. And there are 2 television shows, but I can't talk about them because there's no point until something's up and going. So I'm busy 24/7. There's like 5 other things I'm doing. I can't remember. But yeah, it's ongoing. It's nothing to announce at this point. The main thing is the tour. And then as soon as I get the movie locked and loaded, I'll go right into movie making mode. Oh, I did another movie. I did one over COVID time. COVID time is still COVID time. That'd be a bad beer commercial. It's COVID time. See, that's the kind of joke that someone would take offense because they would go, that's horrible. This is a serious disease. But that's the point of doing something like that. But, maybe my irreverence is dated. I don't think so. But anyway, enough self-analysis. I did this movie. Right now it's called Blue Iguana. And it might be called Killing Daniel, but we shot it in the Cayman Islands. About 8 months ago, and we were able to shoot it because the Cayman Islands has no cases of COVID. 75,000 people. It's a British colony. I think that's why it's run right. And anybody that violates quarantine goes to jail. So they only jailed 1 or 2 people, and no one, I was 16 days of quarantine, and no one in our company got it. And we shot the movie. And so that might be coming out in the fall. I don't know when. So that is something else I did.
That's amazing. And all the stuff you can't talk about yet, of course, you're very welcome back on the Sarah O'Connell Show at any point.
Thank you. Thank you. I loved talking to you. This was such a nice treat. Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it too.
I loved this. Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, if you were watching it, it's also when if you're of age and you watched it when you were a kid, it's like, and it was on all the time. You saw it on tapes, apparently, right?
Yeah.
But other people would see it when it would come on live, appointment television, and they would watch it, and like it used to be, and still is for a couple of shows, but not many. And they would just not know what they watched. You'd miss it 1 week, and then that's why people are binging it now. So funny.
Yeah, it's an amazing show, and it still stands the test of time and just brings the biggest smile to my face every time I watch it.
I believe people from other galaxies are watching it, and they think everyone here is blonde except John and me.
Oh yeah, if they're watching this interview, they'll think that too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just a freak here on the earth.
The best kind. So
thank you.
My final question to you is, have you got any messages for people watching the Sarah O'Connell Show and your fans around the world?
Well, mainly, I think that the Sarah O'Connell Show should be eligible for the Nobel Prize. I think what she's doing is bigger than any award that exists. And I think she's bringing the world together, and she's done it organically from the ground up. And she's one of the kindest people that I've ever talked to. So I would say maybe Queen of Earth, if there is such a title one day, that she would be, if we live in a world where the Avengers exist, I would say Sarah O'Connell should be Queen of the World. That's what I believe. And I will stand by that.
Bob Saget, I'm the biggest fan of yours. Thank you so much for coming on my show today and celebrating your career and your life with me.
It was so sweet. And thank you for being so positive and so nice. And I'm sorry I talked so much. It's one of my problems.
That's what my show is. It's a bigger problem for me if my guests don't talk, to be honest.
That happens. I've had that. I have Ed Asner on, and he is 91. So he's finding words to say. And he is, of course, the old man in Up. And he was from shows like the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Lou Grant years ago. And sometimes he would just go, yes. Did you like working with her? Yes. And then I would take it, and then I'd get him ornery, and then he would speak up, because he was also in his day and still quite an activist, trying to change culture and minds, and got in trouble for it. So it's interesting talking to people and interviewing people. I don't call it an interview. It's a conversation.
It is a conversation, and that's what it should be, I think. All the best ones are.
Yeah.
There's points of conversation I can, but I'm more than happy to even push them all aside. And sometimes I've done interviews where I've only got through 2 questions, and we've just spoken about one subject for an hour, and they'll come back. Some of my guests have been back 3, 4, 5 times, we just find other things to talk about when we have commonalities, and we just enjoy each other's work. And I love that too.
Well, I look forward to it. And I look forward to coming to England and performing and seeing you there. So that'll be great.
That would be amazing. And yeah, obviously, if you come to England, I'd love to see your show as well. And we'll tell the entire country to come see you.
Well, we will. And I'll see you. And I can't thank you enough. This was really nice.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. So thank you again. And thank you to everybody watching at home. Be sure to share, subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and leave lots of lovely comments. I'll see you all again soon for another episode of the Sarah O'Connell Show. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Don't forget Sarah O'Connell Show. Subscribe now. It's never too late. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. I think the world of you and your work and your
Thank you. I do too. I do too.
So yeah, take care. And as I say, you're welcome back on my show anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be talking to you.
Lots of love. Take care.
Thank you. Lots of love.